Hi friends, welcome back. I'm Elaine and I'm living with autoimmune disease, and today I want to share my PrismRA adventure. For those that are new to my channel, I am an autoimmune disease patient. I have overlapping autoimmune diseases. I have rheumatoid arthritis, systemic sclerosis or scleroderma, and lupus. Rheumatoid arthritis was my first autoimmune disease diagnosis. If you'd like to know my RA story, I'll link that down below. I want to preface this with saying I am just a patient. I am not in the medical field, so I probably will get things about this maybe a little bit skewed, but also I want to remind you that this is just my experience. I don't have any affiliation with this company. I just wanted to share my experience because it was so new and I couldn't find a whole lot on it as a patient. Now this test, I believe, only works for rheumatoid arthritis. It's not for anything else. This test will test your genetics or your disease. I know I'm probably not getting this right, to see if your disease will respond to TNF inhibitors. If you're not familiar what a TNF inhibitor is, it is marketed such as like Humira, Enbrel, Cimzia, Symphony, and I'm forgetting one. Oh, Remicade. When you get this test done, you're put into 3 categories. They give your doctor a number, and then the number falls within the categories. I'm actually looking at my results right here so they can give you an accurate description of the 3 categories. So the first one is that you will respond to TNF inhibitors, and then there's a high non-responsive and a very high non-responsive. So my rheumatologist brought it up to me. When I was in the doctor's office, I was given a kit. I'm going to insert a video of that kit right now. But as you'll see, the kit had a box that flipped open. It had a couple of forms in there. Now, the form I'm showing you is blank, but the form that I had was completely filled out by my physician. Had my doctor, his facility, and their fax number. It had my identifying markers. You can kind of see that on the form. So that was included in the kit. The kit also included 3 vials of just empty vials for the phlebotomist, and a mailing slip of like a FedEx slip to FedEx it back. The mobile phlebotomist called me, let me know they had the order, and scheduled a time that would be convenient for them to come to my home to draw my blood. This is a couple of months ago when it was still kind of new, and I hear now, my doctor told me in the last appointment, that they actually have a contract with like Quest Diagnostics now. So I think you actually go over to Quest. You probably take that little kit over to Quest, and Quest does it for you at their facility. Here's the part that I wanted to share with you. I did not prefer the mobile phlebotomy. It was a little bit shady. I thought it would be, it's very convenient. I will say that. I didn't have to go anywhere, but I live in a city where Quest Diagnostics is really not that far. I could get to Quest Diagnostics in a couple of minutes. So it was not a problem for me to go and get my blood done at a facility. Now, I could see how mobile phlebotomy would be very helpful to some. I would much prefer to be in a lab where I feel like the person, the phlebotomist doing it, would be more familiar with the tests and how to keep the blood once they draw it, if that makes sense. So the phlebotomist came to my house. He drew my blood. There was 3 vials. He took all 3. He did it by a butterfly, and he read the instructions, packaged it up, and took the kit with him. You are not responsible for mailing this out yourself. If you've ever had a Vectra test, it's very similar to a Vectra. So you bring the kit to them, they draw it all and mail it off. I got the results back within like a week, I want to say. It was pretty quick, and I wanted to delay making this video because I wanted to share with you like everything. I wanted to wait until my rheumatology appointment. I got to talk to my rheumatologist, understand what it meant. Now, to share a little bit about my story, I have already taken TNF inhibitors. I've been on 4. So I have taken Remicade, Enbrel, Humira, and Cimzia. So I have done a gamut of the TNF inhibitors. Now, to be very forthcoming, I was allergic to one of the medications. I did encounter a drug-induced lupus. This was before my actual lupus diagnosis, and I did encounter a drug-induced lupus. Now, was it truly drug-induced lupus when I ended up having overlap lupus down the road and systemic sclerosis? Maybe, maybe not. I can't fully know at this point, but I do know that my ANA, the pattern of it turned drug-induced lupus. So maybe it's drug-induced lupus, maybe it wasn't. So that is why we discontinued TNF inhibitors. I've always been curious about TNF inhibitors because when I first got sick with RA and my first biologic was a TNF inhibitor, it was working quite well before I developed an allergic reaction. Now, I don't want to scare anybody. Allergic reactions do happen sometimes. They are not common. And if you have them, they are able to be managed or taken care of. And there is a load of other drugs out there. So please don't let my experience like frighten you away from biologics. There are other things on the market. And if something happens, your doctor is well aware how to take care of it. I've been on all the drug classes for RA that are on the market. I have something called refractory RA, which means it's not easily treated. So I've gone through a lot of the RA medications. And having an overlap, it's sometimes tricky because we can get the RA under control, but then like scleroderma flares up, or scleroderma will start to quiet down, and then my RA flares, like this medication helps this and that, and it's separate. So I know a lot of people with overlap disease probably encounter that themselves. All this to say, on my report back, and I would love to show it to you, but it has all of my personal identifying things on there. So I'm just gonna tell you what it says. So on here is my physician and clinic that he works at, and my patient information, which includes my date of birth and my name and my medical record number for the facility that I'm at. I'm at a teaching hospital. So, and on here is just a test description about pretty much what I told you, that it was testing for TNF inhibitor therapy and how well I would respond to it. And it gave a value here. So, and an interpretation. So my value is actually 8.6. My interpretation is that I am likely to respond to a TNF inhibitor. So all those questions about would a TNF work for me, because it did at the beginning, it's here on paper. So yes. And also included in this, which my physician got, he shared with me. It wasn't anything I got on my end. I sent him my anti-CCP, which is an antibody that is specific for rheumatoid arthritis, and my C-reactive protein at the time that they drew my blood. So they sent him those two values separate than the report I got. I would respond to a TNF inhibitor. But now what do we do with this information? I don't know. I wanted to do this test because I wanted to know, and I wanted my physician to have this information. I don't know if there's a workaround. I don't know if having a positive ANA, which I have now, when I first was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, I did not have a positive ANA. I am seropositive for rheumatoid arthritis. That's the other thing. If you have a question about, will this work for seronegative? I don't know. So I can only tell you I am seropositive. So I have rheumatoid factor and I have anti-CCP, both in my blood, that are positive. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the cost of this test. It's factored in when I chose to, to complete it. The cost of it was covered by my insurance. So I have private insurance, and the insurance company that I have covered the cost of this test. I did see that they have like a financial aid department, sort of like our drugs do, like Biologics, and they don't expect that any patient should pay more than a certain amount. I don't really know what that amount was since it didn't cost me anything. I also did see that they will call patients and go over the cost of the test with them, like the anticipated cost, before the test is drawn. That way you aren't responsible for anything that you weren't sure that you were going to be responsible for. So that was my PrismRA experience. If you have any questions, leave me a comment down below. I will answer it to the best of my abilities. Remember, I'm just a patient and I don't know the physician stuff. If you are curious about this test, I would encourage you to ask your rheumatologist about it. I'm curious if anybody else has had this test done, if you were surprised by the results. I don't think I was like terribly surprised by the results. If you like this video and this kind of informational stuff that I share with you guys, please give me a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't yet subscribed, I'd love to have you on my adventure. My adventure is sometimes medical, my adventure is sometimes fun, but I would love to have you. The more friends, the more better. So please subscribe. And until my next adventure, go have yours.